Okay, some footballing news out of Germany is Dynamo Dresden have had 2 players test positive for the virus. Now they play in the second-tier Bundesliga, which is also due to restart on the 16th alongside the Bundesliga top flight. Now the DFL, which is the German Football League, are still pushing ahead with their plans to restart on the 16th of May, but Dynamo Dresden have said we have to isolate our players and coaching staff for 14 days. We're not going to be able to play our game against Hannover 96 on time on the 16th. Now, the DFL, which is the German Football League, have said, oh, there's plans in place to allow for games in hand. But there lies the problem. What happens if more teams have players who test positive and more teams have to isolate? The Bundesliga, the top 2 tiers, have got one shot at this. I don't think they can get away with shutting down the league a second time and then restarting again if they want to finish by July. I think UEFA have put a fair bit of pressure on the Bundesliga to be the test league so they can get the league completed and then they can play the Champions League and Europa League tournaments in August. I think UEFA have put a little bit of pressure on the Bundesliga to get restarted. But when a whole team has to go into self-isolation for 2 weeks, it sort of disrupts that timetable. Now, the Bundesliga and the DFL have put testing in place at these empty stadiums, and that's fine. But what happens if you have a whole team that are not asymptomatic, that are testing positive for symptoms? We've seen in Italy multiple players during the closed training phase test positive. So that's putting the idea of starting Serie A again on hold. The Bundesliga is taking risks, even though with all the testing in place and the fact that Germany's had a far lower, shall I say, infection rate and death rate than other countries in Europe, there is a chance of a second spike in infections, and there is a chance that multiple players on multiple teams could test positive, and at which point the carefully constructed timetable, which the Germans are very good at doing, they're very efficient in Germany, gets thrown into the air. And I don't think the Bundesliga and the DFL can get away with shutting down the season a second time and restarting. I just don't think that's feasible, logistically possible. And other leagues and other sports are actually looking at the Bundesliga right now to see how they do it. And this could highlight a lot of problems. So while they've got the testing protocols in place, clearly they've tested these players, and it's come back with some positive results, which is not good. And there are chances that other teams and other coaching staffs, when they get to the stadiums to be tested for a game, there is a chance that they could have contracted the virus. And then that means if Dresden have only got 2 players testing positive and they're isolating for 14 days, what happens if Robert Lewandowski, Bayern Munich, for example, tests positive? He's their prize asset. Do you really think Bayern Munich are going to play without him? It's an interesting one. Dortmund, Schalke, the big Rhineland derby. It was if a player tests positive there, are they going to play ahead? You've got to weigh this up. So, a lot of questions to be raised. We'll see what develops out of this. But Dresden aren't playing their first game against Hannover 96 in the second-tier Bundesliga. The DFL has to seriously consider, is it the right option to restart? Are they putting money before safety? But there we go, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below. I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.